I saw an interview once with, I think it was in the Mercury News, some guy had just quit working for Steve Jobs. And his comment was, I got tired of riding the genius shithead roller coaster. And I think that's maybe an earthier way to say what I'm talking about. This idea that as a programmer, there's these two poles of hero and martyr, and bouncing back and forth between them. It doesn't constitute career planning. It doesn't substitute for career planning. What I'm getting the glimmerings of, even though I can't claim to understand it very well yet, is that there's a whole nother way of being as a programmer, that I don't have to be the mythological hero and I don't have to be a grease spot. That I can find a place in work where I can be at ease. I can be comfortable with who I am, with what I do, with the contributions that I make, with my place on teams, that I can be comfortable with how things really are. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So can I get the next slide, please? So one more. So growing up, I listened to lots of older guys give talks, and they always went back to dictionary definitions. And I'm thinking, dictionary definitions, like anybody could do that. And so for 20 years worth of talks, I never mentioned dictionary definitions. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I realized there's all kind of stuff in the dictionary. This is cool, that there's a lot of information. You know, the words that a word is related to. We don't use words at random. There's some reason behind it, and the words really mean things. And the histories of the words and the words that those words are related to say something powerful. So now my first thing I do when I start a talk about whatever it is, responsibility, accountability, I go back to the dictionary and say, well, okay, I'm going to be using this word 600-700 times in a half an hour. Maybe I should know what it means. So, ease. I wanted to look up ease and see what it meant. It turns out that there's two families of meanings, one of which is not what I mean at all, and the other of which is very much what I mean. So, first meaning that I don't mean, at least not mostly, is freedom from constraint. I'm at ease. I can do anything I want to. I can just lay in this hammock and drink beer all afternoon. No constraints. That is not the work world. Part of the work world is, part of the contract is that you accept constraints. If you receive value from someone, you accept the constraint of creating value. That's part of the contract. So I'm not talking about a life without constraints. Embarrassment is a little bit different topic, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Next. I do not mean freedom from difficult, hard work and effort. One of the things I find when I think back to the times I was at ease as a programmer is this some of the hardest working times. At the end of it, end of a day, I could be really exhausted. At the end of a week, I could be really exhausted, but still at ease. So this isn't about a life of leisure. This is not a call for the 30-hour week for programmers. Ease at work has nothing to do with taking it easy in the sense that I'm using it. Ease at work, it means something very different. Next. And finally, this is certainly out of scope for a 1-hour talk. Although a half-hour infomercial can probably fix this for you. But for one of my talks, for now, I think actually you have to be free from financial difficulty before you can teach other people Except if you sell the advice for how to get free, and then you can be, anyway. So I'm not talking about the life of ease, you know, the prototypical English fop with the independent income. That's also not what I'm talking about, ease at work. There's lots of ways that y'all can address that on your own. So next. That's the negative. The positive, here's what I am talking about when I say ease at work. The first is this sense of comfort. I belong here. It's okay for me to be here, who I am, doing what I'm doing. And I think one of the sad things when I think about my own career is how much of my work life I have spent not feeling that way about what I'm doing. It's not okay to be me. It's not okay to be doing what I'm doing. It's not okay to have my skills or my limitations here, that I'm just not comfortable in my own skin most of the time when I'm working. And I think that's a shame. I think that a lot of potential is wasted on the worry that comes along with that. Next. So this is, I think, an important part of it. Freedom from worry, pain, or agitation. That the times at work when I'm agitated, when I'm just going from one thing to another and I never quite finish anything before I start the next thing, those aren't productive times. Those aren't times that I feel comfortable about myself. Oftentimes the lack of comfort is what fuels that agitation. Oh, you know, that we have so much to do, there's no way I'm going to get it all done. So I'm going to do half of all of the tasks that I have on my plate. And that will solve the problem. This is such a useless work strategy. But it doesn't mean I learn and stop doing it. I can do that over and over again. But I think there's enormous potential wasted out of that kind of that sense of agitation or pain or worry. Oh, what if I'm just not good enough for this? Oh, what if the customers really don't want anything like it, not even our current product? What if the customers don't want any kind of product we could possibly imagine ever implementing? Now, part of what's wrong with this dis-ease, this lack of ease, is it just doesn't match reality. What are the chances that a group of smart people sitting around a table thinking about what product are we going to come up with, what are the chances that no idea we could come up with in the next 10 years has any commercial potential? Zero. And yet, what do I do sitting around the table going, nobody's going to buy this, and nobody's going to buy anything that we do, and we might as well all just pick your favorite, fries with that, pick your favorite alternative career. It's just not realistic to think that creative, experienced, smart people can't come up with good ideas. And yet, somehow I convince myself in my dis-ease that that's the case. That just nothing's going to work and we're not going to get it. Next. The last sense of ease that I like, and I won't talk about it too much because it's just too attractive to me as a geek, is the sense of facility in work. The Michael Jordan, the Wayne Gretzky, who just does impossible stuff with no apparent effort whatsoever. That's a sense of ease that I am talking about, that I think is part and parcel of being comfortable. If I want to be comfortable in my skin as a programmer, being a good programmer is part of that. If I was a really horrible programmer and I was comfortable with that, I think something would be wrong. Although I think probably I have met people like that.